Fox Soul challengers Quanell X and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Voicemails, Instagram messages, Facebook messages. But what I will say is, I'll break it down into response from men and from women. From women, it's about 80% positive, thank you. Finally, you're putting a spotlight on the men's role. There's about 20% of the responses from women that are saying that I'm wasting time, wasting taxpayer money. And then on the men's side, it's actually about 50-50. About 50% are like, oh, thanks for pointing this out. I've got daughters, and it's always about what they can do and what they can't do. So thank you for setting the spotlight on this. And the 50% of men that are not for it are upset. They are mad. I guess it's the times we live in now, because since you can just type something and hit send, but like I'm getting some of the most vile things that are, people can imagine that send to me. But it's actually, it's kind of funny also in a sense. I've gotten some crazy messages from men, and then the next day they'll apologize because they hadn't read it or hadn't looked into it, and they're like, oh, I agree with what you're doing. I thought that you're really trying to restrict what men can do and what men can't do, but no, you're shedding the spotlight on.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, we just watched a lawmaker here, a Southern lawmaker, who has put legislation before the State House. And I'm a little confused, but I'm trying to walk with him here. I believe he's making it illegal, or maybe a crime, for a man to get an erection and quote-unquote masturbate. I believe that's what he's saying, outlawing masturbation for men. Am I correct?
So it's a Mississippi legislator who has a Contraception Begins at Erection Act that he has submitted to, obviously seeking it as legislators do, seeking it to be codified into the law, that men are not allowed to orgasm unless they are seeking to create a baby, right? Now, does he sincerely want that? No. What he's trying to do is, in my opinion, is to encourage a conversation about the restrictions that we're seeing throughout the Deep South, throughout the country and conservative states, on women's right to abortions, women's right to, post-conception medications to terminate the pregnancy.
Well, how can you compare that to masturbation?
And by some more conservative, far-right conservatives, access to contraception, period.
But
right?
what does that got to do with a man who decides? What if a man says, okay, look, I don't want to be with a woman right now. I want to keep all my money in my pocket. I want to be accountable, responsible to myself. I don't need no drama. I don't need no headache. I don't need nobody arguing with me every night when I come home. And if I want to watch my football game and watch my sports game, she ain't in my ear telling me, let's go watch Housewives. So he decides that he's going to be in a relationship to himself. So if he decides to, quote unquote, pleasure himself, that's a crime?
Yeah, in this scenario.
So let me ask you a question. So in women, most sex toys in the sex industry are sold to women. He said 80% of women were in agreement with that law, right? But 83% or more sex vibrating toys are not for men, they're for women. So is it a woman gonna be held accountable the same way that she can't masturbate too?
Okay, so I think that the focus here is the role that semen, I don't know if you took health class in 10th grade, but the role semen plays in the insemination of the egg to create the fetus that many people characterize.
But if ain't no woman, there ain't no creation.
Okay, but again.
So when a woman takes out her toy, okay, right, and she's by herself, and she gets, and she comes to climax, right, she's doing the same thing the man does. So why is she not held to the same standard as the man? Why is the man's erection, if he quote unquote ejaculates, is a crime, but if a woman does the same thing, it's not a crime for her? This state rep is mad.
First off,
this legislation is foolishness and is ignorant.
Okay, firstly, It sounds like you're having some problems at the home, pleasuring your women, and I
What do you
apologize
mean?
for
Why
that.
would you say that?
That's one.
Why would you say
Two,
that?
you're looking at this far too literally. I don't think this guy has any intention of how would you enforce? Were you going to go in there and inspect people's underwear and sheets to make sure that
But he's trying to fix a double standard by creating one.
No, I think he's trying to make a point, specifically in Mississippi, where there have been those legislators who have actively sought to limit access not just to abortion services, but to birth control for women.
But you can't
right?
use hypocrisy to fight hypocrisy. You can't use wrong to fight wrong. It
well,
doesn't make it right. Two wrongs won't make it right.
He's getting a lot of attention, and there's he's
And
a
that's probably what
politician.
he's seeking.
Right, clearly, but he's either seeking attention for himself, which would be narcissism, or he's seeking attention for something he sees as a legitimate threat to a woman's right to
This reminds me of.
So he's shining a bright spotlight.
This reminds
in
me
it.
of the female state legislator in Texas. I won't call her name, who put legislation before the state house in Texas, banning the sale of sex toys in Walmart and other stores that she felt were visible to the customers, in particular children. She wanted to limit and restrict access of women to sex toys.
Right.
Women were outraged by that. Well, the same women who were outraged by that should be outraged by this. The same men that were outraged by limiting sex toys, women's access to them,
you're the only
should be
person
outraged.
in the world, and some idiots.
I think
on
that's
social
crazy,
media
man, what he's
who
doing.
think that there's any effort to actually enact this, or who thinks there's any possibility if they did, it could be enforced. It couldn't be, right? What he's trying
Let me say
to
this
do
to you, man.
is he's trying to point out
let
the
me ask you a question.
absurdity of those that
So,
are
let me
threatening
ask you a
people's
question.
access to contraception.
Remember years ago, you might have been a police officer still, where there was a cop who went to a gay couple's apartment.
Yeah, no, I actually worked on that case.
Exactly, and discovered they were having sex in the apartment, right? Two consenting male adults. Both of them were arrested because there was an old law on the book against sodomy, right? Well, what happens if this law was enacted, just in case hypothetically, because it is sponsored, if you go to a man's house and you go in there and go in his home on a wellness check and find out he wasn't answering his cell phone because he was busy, with a whole bottle of P. Diddy baby oil, do you put him in jail?
So the Texas sodomy case, which was affirmed by the 14th Court of Appeals, by, in fact, the judge I worked for the year I worked it. There was a lot of protests. It was a big deal. It was then passed on by the Court of Criminal Appeals, which is the Texas Supreme Court, state Supreme Court for criminal matters, and then overturned under an equal protection argument by the U.S. Supreme Court.
It was in the racial couple too, black man and white man.
But the U.S. Supreme Court said that the government has no business regulating how people have sex, right? I equally agree that this proposed statute would be unconstitutional, would not stand up to constitutional scrutiny. But again, I think you're looking at it too literally. I think this guy is bothered by, and you can leave the abortion debate to the side. He is bothered by all of the Mississippi legislators who are trying to limit the accessibility of just contraception to women, whether it's birth control, whether it's Plan B, morning after pill, whether it's an IUD, that are trying to limit access. And you act like it wasn't the case. In the 80s, 70s and 80s, it was often very hard in the Deep South for women to access birth control.
And there were many illegal abortions also,
where
women were dying in
Right.
poor neighborhoods who could not afford them because they were having illegal abortions.
Well,
and it was against the law
there's
also.
a lot of people that suggest, because I took Larry Tribe's advanced constitutional law at Harvard, that Roe v. Wade was only passed because one of the Supreme Court justices' clerks, while Tribe was at the court, had a girlfriend die from an illegal abortion, right? So, because it was a strained jurisprudential math to get to that result. But I don't think there's any chance that this statute goes anywhere. I don't think there's any chance that it passes. I think this legislator is getting exactly what he wanted. He's getting people like me and you on TV and everywhere talking about
if the Supreme Court
the issue.
But if the Supreme Court has already ruled that the government nor states should be telling people how they can have sex in the privacy of their own home,
Right.
well, then that trumps this legislation he's put forth.
Absolutely, but you'd have to challenge it. It'd have to go through the system if it got passed. It's not
So
going
he's
to
seeking.
pass.
So he's a politician seeking attention.
Well, he's trying to.
He's
no,
not trying to get nothing really done, just seeking
that's
attention.
not true. I think he's trying to shine a light on a problem in his state about the accessibility to birth control for women, and it's a real issue.
But it's a start then. It's a stunt to get some attention.
What do you think politicians are? You think they're...
I completely agree with you, brother, wholeheartedly. But what I would like to see is we really come to a real way of finding a bridge to this, because the abortion issue, the contraceptive issue, there's some serious issues for the American people. And I just think there's a better way of dealing with all of this, but we need bright minds to deal with it, not politicians.
I think maybe we should secure access to contraception for people that are having sex, so we don't have more unwanted babies.
Or just have free health care, period.
And we don't need abortion
Just have free health care like Canada.
Okay, yeah, well, Canada, a lot of people dying because they can't get to the doctor.
Well, on Fox Face Off, we tell the raw, unadulterated truth.
Fox Soul Face Off
We are given the platform here with no fear.
always comes out swinging.
We should be saying, hey, stop shooting and killing people.
Nothing held back.
They wanted black hip-hop moguls and artists to continue the feud.
No punches pulled.
And shut the hell up.
You interrupt
and let
me all
speak
the
to my
time.
people.
Tune into the show where opinions collide. Fox Soul Face Off. New episodes weeknights at 9 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
Hey, it's your girl, Carolina Sanchez, and The Nightcap is the late night show where no topic is off limits. Join me as we dive into the wild world of relationships, sex, and everything in between. From hilarious dating disasters to steamy secrets, you know we've got it all. We've got celebrity guests, expert advice, and a cocktail in hand. The Nightcap is your guilty pleasure. So grab your drink and tune in, because the best stories start after dark.
The Nightcap. New episodes weeknights at 10:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
As we work to get through these times together, you may not be thinking about blood donation, but blood is needed to save the lives of people who are sick with a range of illnesses. It's easy and safe to give. If you are in good health, please donate. We need heroes now. Visit redcrossblood.org to schedule an appointment.
I'm Isaiah Carey, here to shake things up with the stories that hit hard and matter most. Here on The Factor, we cover news with grit and authenticity. We challenge the status quo and get down to real talk and bold discussions. Join us as we amplify the voices that disrupt, inspire, and lead the charge for change. Your story is power, and we're here to unleash it.
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored. New episodes weeknights at 9:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
Our men dating outside of the race. What I'm against is when you down us to uplift somebody else.
Okay.
And that's why I was telling those jokes where you get the worst that you can find. But I can't be what I am. I'm too talkative. I'm too ambitious. I'm too strong. I gained 5 pounds. You don't me, but you get with Becky that's 2 sizes of me. And you said, remember, what's the show where, is it Maury?
Yeah.
Maury Povich.
Yeah.
Oh, listen to me. It's always a brother on there. Well, what if these are not your children? I'm a love lady. I'm a love baby.
I've been in these kids' life.
Oh,
I'm the
my
only
God.
dad they know.
Look just like me. Look, they got my eyes, they got my nose, and this girl is the worst of the worst of the worst. If you gonna get one of them, get Taylor Swift. Don't get the worst one. I'm not against you white girls pulling our men, but some of these girls, I just want to look at a brother and go, I see it.
I see why you
I
got
see
her.
why. That's right. That's absolutely right. Get her together. Put this on a treadmill. Do something. Get her to eat some vegetables. Or don't get the worst of the worst and then throw it in my face. That's what I don't like. And I don't think most black women like that either.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
You know, I always know it's Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp, talking to a woman who is just decrying white women generally. And I find it shocking in today's day and age how it is okay for racialized pejoratives. Here it was the term Becky, which is a negative term referred to white women.
A common white woman's name, Becky.
Right, but it's now a racial pejorative used oftentimes by black women to describe white women in a derogatory fashion. And I don't understand why racism is okay now. But I mean, I understand because of this popular myth that black people can't be racist. Well, of course they can. But she is not only attacking white women, she's also attacking black men generally in a very bigoted manner because of what she sees as the outsized number of black men who would rather be with an obese white woman than a normal-sized black woman. I think everything she said was rooted in racial bigotry. and I don't think it's fair. But also, well, instead of attacking other people, because I don't think you can speak holistically about black men, white women, or black women, that it's more she's looking through the lens, the prism of her experience. And instead of wondering, why am I so off-putting that no one is choosing me, no one wants to be with me, instead she's just blaming white women generally, blaming black men generally, when really she should be looking in the damn mirror and saying, hey, what am I doing wrong that's pissing everybody off and making me undateable? So that's the real issue.
I'm going to say some things that you're going to have to walk with me here for a second.
I mean, we've been doing it for a few years.
Charles,
I think we'll keep it up.
She had some valid points.
What?
Now, let me say this. What she was pointing out is a historical problem that many black women and black people witness in very successful black male athletes and black male entertainment figures, is that when they started marrying outside the race, these black men, these prominent, successful black men, were not marrying white women that were school teachers, white women that were lawyers, white women that were scientists and engineers. They were not marrying white women that were doctors and judges and elected officials. They were marrying what many knew to be the bottom of the barrel. When there was this craze in the 80s of black men who married white women, they were marrying ex-strippers. Example, remember when Charles Barkley married his wife, where he found her. Remember Dennis Rodman when he found his wife in a strip club. Remember O.J. Simpson, where he found Nicole Simpson in a strip club. There's many cases like that of prominent black men who were successful athletes and entertainers who were marrying white women, not who were highly educated or successful, but they had this fantasy in their mind because of self-hate. Now, if a black man loves a white woman and it's pure love, and she loves him and it's pure love and not pure lust, then nobody should have a problem with that. But black men, remember now, all of their lives were raised in a nation that said the darker your skin, the uglier you are, the least attractive you are. Black men and women were taught to hate themselves for the broadness of our noses, the thickness of our lips, and the texture of our hair. And we were taught this, Charles, that if a black man or a black woman had an interracial child, then we would say the black child has good hair, but a natural full-blooded black child would be one with bad hair. So Charles, you and I both know that good and bad are conduct characteristics, not the texture of somebody's hair. We come from a people that were taught that the standard of beauty in America was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, sexy white woman. We were taught that from day one. That's why so many black men paid penalties and prices for just even looking at white women. What that black woman is talking about is the reality of black men who subconsciously hate who they are, and they feel that marrying a white woman makes them more legitimate and more of a success story in this country. And she's going, look, we would understand what she said, that if you successful black men would marry the white woman who's a doctor, wouldn't marry the white woman who's a lawyer, wouldn't marry the white woman who's a principal, an educator. Okay, we can understand, brother, you know, you did your thing. But far too often it was black men who were marrying white women who were not even remotely close to the successful standard that they were financially, and that they could do better. Don't choose from the bottom of the barrel. But also black women, she spoke about the weight issue, that black men will see a sister gain 7 or 8 pounds, they leave her, and they go date this white woman who's blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Miss 6 o'clock, just straight up, straight down, built like an iron board, just flat in the back, you know, subject to have the itch, mutanoid, caucasoid, white. So at the end of the day, you know, she's saying, why would you choose that? And all she's doing is going to the tanning salon to look like a black woman. She's going getting Botox in the lips so have the big lips like a black woman. She's burning up in a sun tanning bed to look like us. Why would you want to go take that? But Charles, let me say this. It is an issue with black women and weight in our community. But now it's even a bigger issue for white women fighting with the weight problem in their community. For hundreds of years, the cultural dietary habits that black people celebrated and that was pushed to us and given to us were the worst cultural dietary habits that any culture of people could ever indulge in. And because for generations we've celebrated and indulged in those bad dietary habits, we've had issues with obesity, and we've had issues with diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease and weight problems because of the poor dietary cultural habits that we were given. But the slave master, the food he gave the slaves for hundreds of years, he did not eat with his own family in the master's house. So the white woman has never ever been taught through cultural dietary habits to eat the same diet that black women were taught during slavery and for generations. And still to this day, we like to call soul food, when really a lot of our soul food is nothing more than death food.
Well, that was a whole lot, Quanell, but a whole lot of it was just rank bigotry, and oddly, rank bigotry directed at black men, which always shocks me when you engage in it. There are, first of all, OJ didn't meet Nicole Brown Simpson.
They've been at a strip club. Yes, they did, in Vegas.
She was not a stripper. You are just attacking a dead woman.
They hooked up in a strip club, Charles.
Okay. Was she a stripper in the strip club?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no, I take it back. She was a part-time stripper and part-time bartender.
Okay. This is
same damn thing.
Loving to crap on a victim of murder.
No,
but it's okay.
She was working as a bartender slash waitress slash part-time stripper.
There are tons of black men that are with highly successful white women.
That's a
and
lie.
They are with them because they're in love with them.
That's not true.
Right?
That is not true, Charles. The majority of black men who have white women as spouses, they don't take the cream of the crop of white women. That's a fact. They don't do that. You have more black women. Let me say this. You have more black women when they marry white men, they take the cream of the crop of white men because they're smarter in the selection process. Because when black women choose a white man, she's really choosing based on the reality of the long-term relationship. Too many brothers are choosing based on physical characteristics.
An incredible number of black men married to
influential, successful white women.
Influential, successful.
Man, you sitting in line with a straight face.
I'm not.
Name them. I said name them.
Okay. Well,
give me three.
I'll give you one right now off the top of my head. A friend of mine who is a world-class athlete.
What's his name?
His name's Tyrone. I'm not going to give
Tyrone
his last
who?
name. I'm not giving you his last name.
You're not going to sit and do that there.
I
want to know who Tyrone is.
He was a long jumper for Jamaica. His wife is a
Kingston.
His wife is a pole vaulter. For the United States.
What's her name?
Incredible. I'm not giving you her name.
See, man, don't start that, man. Stop.
World-class athlete.
Now you like to snitch on me.
No, I'm not.
You love snitching on me.
There are plenty of.
You love snitching about what I drive. You love snitching about what I make and what I'm worth. But you ain't gonna sit here and tell us about your homeboy.
There is a coach here for the Houston Texans who's married to a wonderful white woman who's very successful. There's a stockbroker that is.
Say, man, don't tell me nothing else. Can I get a name?
I'm not going to out
Can I get a name?
people,
but you'll out me.
Right?
But you'll out me and what I drive, how many cars I got, where you think I live, and how much money I'm worth.
Because you
ain't
finna
out
these
them.
people.
But you ain't finna out them.
You lie to
these
out
people
them.
Man, I'm
pretend
done with
that
you,
you're
man.
oppressed. You get on TV
I'm done with you, man.
and talk about,
I'm done with you, man.
I'm so oppressed. I'm gonna get in
but you won't tell them them dudes. Come on now, man.
To my
man, I'm angry with you, man.
With all my oppression.
Goddamn snitching on me for nothing.
Come on,
but you don't tell your homeboys.
What's
Tyrone's name?
You are being racist.
I ask you Tyrone's name.
You are being racist to black men and white women.
What's the coach
name? How are you so self-loving?
I'm not against that, brother. I'm for any man that loves a white woman if it's true love and she loves him, but I'm against lust in the name of love.
Hey, it's your girl, Carolina Sanchez, and The Nightcap is the late-night show where no topic is off limits. Join me as we dive into the wild world of relationships, sex, and everything in between. From hilarious dating disasters to steamy secrets, you know we've got it all. We've got celebrity guests, expert advice, and a cocktail in hand. The Nightcap is your guilty pleasure. So grab your drink and tune in because the best stories start after dark.
The Nightcap. New episodes weeknights at 10:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
I'm Isaiah Carey, here to shake things up with the stories that hit hard and matter most. Here on The Factor, we cover news with grit and authenticity. We challenge the status quo and get down to real talk and bold discussions. Join us as we amplify the voices that disrupt, inspire, and lead the charge for change. Your story is power, and we're here to unleash it.
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored. New episodes weeknights at 9:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first round draft pick. during the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father and as a husband. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
I wonder if you know that I want the best for you. But how long will you fight solo? I wonder if you know that we can get help. Not wondering anymore. Love your mind.
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.
I wonder if you know that I want the best for you. But how long will you fight solo? I wonder if you know that we can get help. Not wondering anymore. Love your mind.
Hey, it's your girl, Carolina Sanchez, and The Nightcap is the late night show where no topic is off limits. Join me as we dive into the wild world of relationships, sex, and everything in between. From hilarious dating disasters to steamy secrets, you know we've got it all. We've got celebrity guests, expert advice, and a cocktail in hand. The Nightcap is your guilty pleasure. So grab your drink and tune in because the best stories start after dark.
The Nightcap. New episodes weeknights at 10:30 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
Ready to lose track of time the best way possible?
Rolling!
From the funniest videos to the wildest things online, we do the scrolling so you don't have to.
It's Usher. He had that synthetic hair melting. You hear me? Why y'all talking about that lady hair like that? Ain't he alone?
Catch us every weeknight, 7 p.m. Central on Fox Soul.
Louder for the people in the back.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first round draft pick. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father and as a husband. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Well, on Fox Face-Off, we tell the raw, unadulterated truth.
Fox Soul Face-Off.
We are given the platform here with no fear.
Always comes out swinging.
We should be saying, hey, stop shooting and killing people.
Nothing held back.
They wanted black hip-hop moguls and artists to continue the feud.
No punches pulled.
Shut the hell up.
You interrupt me all the time.
Tune into the show where opinions collide. Fox Soul Face-Off. New episodes weeknights at 9 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
As we work to get through these times together, you may not be thinking about blood donation, but blood is needed to save the lives of people who are sick with a range of illnesses. It's easy and safe to give. If you are in good health, please donate. We need heroes now. Visit redcrossblood.org to schedule an appointment.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
I know you're going through a lot. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Let's see how far we can go. Love your mind.
Birthright citizenship is back in the news. That's as a result of judges' nationwide injunction against President Trump's policy. Tonight, why some civil rights advocates are calling it a major win. Plus, faith meets politics. Churches can now speak up at the ballot box without risking their tax breaks. But could this blur the line between church and state?
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
Welcome and thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored tonight. First up, an update on the tariffs from the White House. President Trump says the U.S. will be applying a 35% tariff to all imports from Canada. The president claimed Canada has not done enough to combat fentanyl coming into the United States until now.